I inspire people to find their passion. Your passion will lead to your purpose. This is the very promise our guest speaker gives to all her clients. Please join me in welcoming Julie Cini for our special episode. She is a community leader, a global speaker, a resilience mentor, an author, and she educates people in how to leave a lasting legacy. She is the CEO of the Spinal, Muscular, Atrophy Australia. There is a very, very heart-stirring and heart-wrenching story behind before she found the purpose of her life. And that story gives each one of us a very strong reason to believe that whatever may happen today, my life will change for good if I can see good in it. So stay tuned and let's get into this lovely, meaningful chat that I had with Julie Cini all the way from Australia.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I am particularly excited to share your story. I was nervous and excited today. I remember meeting you, actually listening to your story of resilience in one of the networking events that happened a few months ago. It was an online networking event, and I was like, "Wow, I'm so inspired by Julie because you have faced some really challenging situations in your life, but you came out of that situation and how, and now you are the business owner of Spinal Muscular Atrophy Australia Inc. And there's a story behind your success. So I would like to start by asking Julie, if you're able to take us through that challenging time in your life that really had sucked you all the energy in, and what was it? What happened?
So it was the year 2004. I had my first daughter, and I had this amazing little human being, and I thought I was the world's best mother. I had an angel of a baby who didn't cry, did everything right, and when I put her to bed, she went to bed, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, at 3 months of age, I took her to the doctors. She had a cold, and he said, "Oh, look, I'm not worried about a cold. I'm worried that she has no reflexes." And to cut a long story short, a couple of months later, she was diagnosed with a rare genetic condition called spinal muscular atrophy. So that wasn't my issue. The issue was they told me that my child would die, and that she would die within 12 months. And as a first-time parent, it's something that you just never expect to hear. You should never bury a child, and you should never bury a baby either. So, to hear those words and look at this perfect human being, it was just like, no, I was in denial that she had, this condition, and, I didn't want to believe it. But soon enough, you sort of work out that, yeah, her muscles were wasting away, because atrophy is the wastage of muscles. So not only all her arms and legs were wasting, but all her internal muscles, all her coughing, her breathing, and her swallowing. So she was slowly just getting worse and worse and worse. And it was a real fight to keep her alive. From the age of 5 months, all we could do was turn her on a bed from front to side. She was oxygen dependent. If I lifted her more than 20 degrees, I'd choke her. I was suctioning her 60 times a day. It was like an intensive care ward in our house. It was hard. And she did pass away at 10 months of age. She, it was her time. She needed to go. So through that 10 months, I got to realise and understand the condition. Unfortunately, SMA is genetic, so both parents must carry the gene for you to pass it on to your child. And every time that you have a pregnancy, you've got a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with SMA if both partners are carriers. So both me and my partner were carriers, and we got pregnant again in early 2006. And when I was 13 weeks pregnant, unfortunately, my husband was killed in a car accident. He was turning into our driveway and he was hit by a truck. So he was killed instantly. I was left with a 60-acre farm, sheep about to have, their lambs. And here I was 13 weeks pregnant thinking, did my child have SMA or not? So I went through with that pregnancy, knowing whether I spent 1 minute, 1 hour, or 1 year with my child, it would be meaningful. Um, and yeah, Azali, my second daughter, was born in 2006, in December of 2006, and quickly was diagnosed with SMA as well. So she had the same type as her sister, Montana, and she died 12 months later on Christmas Day, unfortunately. So I lost the whole three of them in 2.5 years to the day. So it was a huge upheaval in my life and a huge challenging time in my life, for sure. Like, you'll never hear of anyone going through something that severe, in a lifetime sort of thing. And it's not the death of it's the death of your three closest loved ones, one after the other, 3 years running, sort of thing. So that was really hard.
It definitely is hard to hear as well. And in general, I think I wouldn't really want someone to explain so much of their personal experiences in
It has to
detail
happen.
in front of everyone. But I think the reason you're here and you are sharing your story everywhere is which is why the reason I wanted to ask you to and thank you so much first of all for doing the honor of sharing this story. It is definitely very very difficult, and I'm sure none of us can really understand what you went through unless someone has. So the reason we have you here is so that we can tell the aspiring leaders, the graduate students, that they might be going through very difficult times. And we have a guest speaker who has actually gone through a very very difficult phase of her life. So, but you did not stop there. I'm sure that was a very difficult period of time. Is there something that you would like to share with our listeners that you were thinking at that time, or what was the thought process you would like to?
Yeah, of course you think, why me? Why did this happen to me? I'm not a bad person. I haven't done anything bad in my life. Why me? And I always say, and I'll say this to everyone listening, things happen for a reason. Sometimes we might not know what that reason is right at that instant. And it took me a number of years to know what my calling was, but I definitely know what that calling is now, and I'm doing everything that I can to be able to um, you know, get my goals and leave some legacies on this world that, because of my children, have made me understand what I'm meant to do in life. So, but of course, you have challenging times. Sometimes you sit in the car and a song will come on that will remind you of them, and you start bawling your eyes out. That's okay. It's acknowledging that they're there, and um, they love you too. So, I just wanted to make sure through this process that it doesn't matter how bad things can be, there's always light at the end of that tunnel. And I started SMA Australia 6 weeks after my first daughter Montana died. I don't ever think anyone should do that, for sure, but it was something I needed to do for my own grief and my own recovery. And my girls inspire me every single day, and I always tell people, why are you doing what are you doing? What's your why? What are you passionate about? I want to leave legacies on this world, and I'm passionate about advocacy. I'm passionate about leaving legacies, teaching others to leave legacies, and I want to make sure that people understand why they're doing it. It's not just for dollars. This is something higher. This is something that when I see my kids at the end of the day, when I die, that I can tell them I fixed it. I couldn't fix it for them, but man, I can fix it for everyone else. And I tell you now, when you help someone in the way that I've helped people, by getting, for example, getting drug treatment across the line, it is better than any drug you'll ever take. The immense feeling that you feel of sheer proud pride, and it is just amazing. Do you know what I mean? And I just, why don't we want to feel that all the time? We put ourselves through so much heartache. Let's be kind to ourselves. Let's bring back that kindness to this world, help other people, and watch people flourish. It's an amazing feeling, seriously.
I just want to say that what a wonderful mother you are. Foundation that you have for your company is so ingrained in your heart, in your brain, that I'm sure the kind of service that you provide is only with the pure motive of helping, as you said, that. And you brought up a very relevant question that everyone asks all the time in their life, which is why me? Even if it's for the smallest of the thing, or and especially at this time where things are not as good as it is, people are losing their loved ones all over the world, and it is getting very difficult. I think sharing your story, Julie, really thankful for you to give your time and to share that again with everyone who's listening to this, because I'm sure they will definitely be inspired. Even if it's one person, I know it's going to help them. And I just want to say that your daughters are so, so lucky to have a mother like you. I know in spirit, they're always there with you, and you see a smiling face. In whichever person you help, you see the smiling face. So, moving on from this journey that you had, which has really it's touched me as well. So I just wanted to understand, from there you took upon yourself, that you want to help out as many people who deal with this, because as you mentioned, if you are not aware of things, you really can't, um, look forward and correct it in time. So that was one of the intentions to start the Spinal Muscular Atrophy, to educate people and to help in any way that you can. Are you able to take us through that journey of how did you start your own company, and yeah, the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so SMA Australia is an incorporated association, and although it's a not-for-profit, it's run by a committee. So I need to have willing people that want to help on my committee each year. So it's not just about me; it's about other people coming together and wanting the best for the association. We're 16 years old this year, so all those moons ago, I never ever thought that I would be doing what I was doing today. We made a website way back then, and we just thought that we would, be there to support other families. And over the 16 years, our advocacy has evolved, from doing one-to-one support, getting equipment for people, and now we're doing advocacy at federal government level. So getting drugs passed, trying to get a national newborn screening across the line for SMA, and also carrier screening for people pre-pregnancy to find out whether they're actually carriers of the disease. So, and this happens in everyone's business. Your business will never stay the same from the moment you opened its doors to where you are. You have to constantly evolve. You have to constantly change with the times. And of course, COVID last year taught us to pivot. You have to constantly sit there and go, oh, actually, I need to go that way. Actually, no, I need to turn and go that way now. So, my best piece of advice is to move with the times, constantly reevaluate where you are, and make sure that you're moving forward to your goal. And my other, big piece of advice is to know what your goal is. Why are you doing this? If it's just for money, then forget it. Like, money's good, but it doesn't bring happiness. And for me, my work, this is my life's work. I've spent my whole life doing it, and I do it for nothing in an instant. I did do it for nothing for a long time before I got paid, but it's my passion. I love it, and I want to see other people's passion and them loving what they're doing for themselves. So that's really important, rather than, oh my god, I got to go to work again. Who wants to have that mentality? You don't. You want to get up and no matter how sick I could be sick and dying in bed just about before I won't get up and go to work. People are like, you need to stay home today, Julie. And I was like, but I've got stuff to do. And they're like, no. So, that's passion. You just want to keep going, and you just want to keep doing.
I actually am curious to know one thing. Now that you have seen life so closely, and a lot of times, like people like us, I mean, who are still young, finding the way out, and we try a lot of things, and we fail at a lot of things. Has there been any situation in your professional or personal life where you have been trying to fight with an emotion or trying to fight with a situation? You failed multiple times. but then you were able to come out of it, whether to say that, okay, I've tried, I don't want to go that way, or I've tried, maybe I wasn't doing this right, so now I've done this right and I've got it. So if there's something that you would like to share with the youngsters, the generation who's, really finding their way in this uncertain times.
Yeah, so I encourage everyone to stay in their lane, keep doing what your focus, what your goal is. Recently, just last week, for example, we go and help advocate for drugs to come across the line, and through what's called and they're an independent body that passes the drugs that we use on our PBS so that we get a cheaper price for them. And these are high cost drugs, over $100,000 an injection. And, we were elated, got it for under 18s, but over 18s were denied again. And, I feel like, I sat there and I'm just like, I've failed. I just, how do I tell my community, and so you get on and you write a statement, and, then the backlash comes. And one lady actually literally put on Facebook going, oh, Julie only advocates for the babies, we need a new advocate. And I'm just like, whoa, hold on a minute. What rock are you hiding under? We do a lot for the adult community. So these things can knock you for six. And like I said, stay in your lane. And, it's taken me the weekend to, get my head around it. And, I put out an email yesterday and, here's the direction for you guys if you want access to this treatment. I've done all I can. You have to do the next step, and the community has to follow you. If only 5 people out of the 400 strong community do it, then we're not going to get it. But if 395 out of the 400 strong community do it, then we're likely to get it. So, just stay in your lane, give direction to the people that you need to, and don't lose sight and focus of what you want, because as soon as some negative comments come in, it hurts, and you just consider and think, am I good enough for this? Should I be doing what I'm doing? And there's many times where I'm just like, I'm closing, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore. But there's always somebody that comes back to you that gives you a nice comment or says thank you, and you're like, oh, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, So be passionate about what you're doing, stay focused with what you're doing, and it'll eventually come. It's like that little man digging for gold. You see the picture of the guy that's like this far away, and then there's the guy that this far away, and the guy this far away gets disheartened, and he goes the other way, and he's 2 seconds from the gold, and the other guy's digging. And with every business, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You've got to be able to continue to keep going, day after day, year after year. I'm in number 16 years, and never would I thought that I'd be down the track 16 years, but here I am, loving it every second of the way. Mind you, I love what I do. So, don't get disheartened by that negative chat. And a friend of mine said to me, if that happens, give it 30 minutes. Talk about it all you like for 30 minutes, and then get over it, get on with it, and move forward, because it'll just eat you otherwise, and it'll create so many other challenges that you just don't need to have.
That your passion speaks through, the entire time I was listening to how you deal with backlash, or how you deal with, the uncertain times, or the times that you feel low, because that is the kind of situation which everyone faces at any point in time, and how you react is what you just have given us the golden the wisdom of how you respond in a situation. And I think for all the listeners, the students, the graduates, if you're working towards something, and if that's your focus, then keep moving at it. That's what Julie's story tells us. People will be standing in front of you, and they can literally stand in front of you and say a lot of things on your face, but if you are confident and being polite, and the way that you come across to people, that will really show who you are, your character. And that's what that's amazing. Thank you for giving small examples, because that really helps us understand it did help me understand that if a situation of this kind comes up, how someone reacts to it. So thank you, Julie, for taking us through 16 years, more than 16 years of your life, just a short span of time, but giving us all the details of how to live a proud and a loving life. I see a lot of love, a lot of kindness in your heart, and everything that you do, that you say, and the passion with which you're working with your company is unparalleled. So thank you so much for being on my show and being so nice to answer all my questions. I just wanted to ask you, before any of my guest speakers leave, I always ask them to leave our listeners with a quote or a saying that they really resonate with.
Yes, I have a signature quote that I use all the time. It's not the end point that matters, it's the journey it takes to get there. The end point is always going to be there. It's the bit in the middle that makes the story. Enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. And I have enjoyed my journey with you the past few minutes. Thank you so much, Julie, for coming on my show and sharing your really, really precious story with us. It has certainly inspired me in many ways. Thank you so much.
I hope you all loved this episode, and I really want to thank Julie for coming on my first step ever and sharing such a personal journey that she had with so much vigor and such a brave heart. I am extremely sure that you have really enjoyed this episode. So if you have, then give us a like, subscribe, and do comment. And before I take a leave, I would like to say, start believing in yourself, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.